Okay, good evening. I'm trying to see if this thing connected. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna be listening for the echo. Let me see how this works out. All right, now I'm gonna be listening for the echo. Let me see how this works out. All right, now I'm gonna be listening for the echo. Let me see how this works out. All right, now I'm gonna be listening for the echo. I can't stand this thing. Let me try again. Let me try again. Let me try again. I'm just so confused. It's just, I don't understand. All right, I don't have headsets on. Hold on, I gotta go get my earbud. All right, let me do this again and see what I got coming through the stream itself. All right, so we sound good. I don't know what that be about. All right. So right now I'm chilling in the dark. I'm not even there. Hold on a second. All right. Where's Zoom at? Here we go. So I'm chilling in the dark. Hey ho. All right. So I was able to locate the video that I wanted to show you earlier. All right. Back in the days when I first came out here in 2018 and 2019, I called myself um sharing with you guys my principalities, right? And throughout the years, I have been domesticated. If you don't know what the word means, go look it up. I've been domesticated and transform to the way of doing business in digital environments. And I'm taking a step back now in 2025, and I'm going back to the way I originally did things, how I trimmed my grass or pulled the weeds out of my garden, um, how I uh, got rid of toxicity that was in my immediate environment. I think throughout the years, I've become too complacent here, and I've allowed the environment to take over my um, normalcy. So now I'm taking that back, and with that, I want to reintroduce you to the way I thought once upon a crime, to let you know that the Mo from back then is back. And this is about 30 minutes of a video, and I am going to only interrupt it as warranted so that we could get through it and you can go to bed. You can watch it in the morning, see it for what it's worth. But nevertheless, it's the way I think, and I just needed to go back to that reality. Without further ado, um, I've grown in technology, but it is what it is. Some days I really don't know. All right, let's get the sharing. Let's get our share on and move on. All right. Do I want to share the screen or do I want to share? I think I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna take the sound and I'm gonna optimize it. Let me move things out of the way so that it could play without any interruptions. Okay. Y'all familiar with her face, right? um, yeah, let's go. So back in the days, I titled this, Who Are the Toxic Individuals in Your Life? So I had a disclaimer. This broadcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents either are the product of the content producer's imagination or used fictitiously. In any resemblance to actual persons, living or fictitious, events or locales is extremely coincidental. Uh, uh, this hasn't changed in, this has been ongoing. Shout out to my brother from another mother. This is one of his favorite series that I did on here. And so I regurgitated it and I'm doing it again. Hey Carla. And I think I said hello to Uni, but I know that she's in the building. Um, so I rededicate this to my brother from another mother. I hope that he is doing well wherever he is at. Okay, good morning. And welcome to Monos. I decided today to go back. I'm going way back into some themes that were previously covered. I used to have a countdown of 7 types of behaviors that I purged from me. And I think I had mixed them up and moved them around. Here they go. It's a countdown. If you've been here with me before, you definitely know who these people are. And 7, 8, 9. It's moved up. The numbers moved up. But I'm gonna lump those two into one. So the type of person, this is a repeat, and you guys know this because this is the type of people that I purge in my life. Time wasters. These are people that talk about nonsense. They call you up and they ain't got nothing good to say, not even anything good to say. Oh, they don't have nothing good to say. They just waste your time. They call you because they got nothing else to do. They're probably the people that are like slithering. They're the snakes. They're to that point. They don't really have they don't really have anything better to do with themselves but get on the phone and give you their blues, or just contact you. And it's not just for a point of information. So, you see these little silly braids, just to give you an idea where that came from or where we perceived it to have been birthed. It comes from days like this, all about them. And then it's like you're just listening. You're in listening mode. They never get to the point. They're just always beating around the bush. They don't want to tell you straight. They're the person that's like, oh, someone told me this. Oh, someone told me that. Look, if you can't tell me if you can't get to the point of what the point is, you're wasting my time. So anytime you talking to somebody and you are like, you're wasting my time. You just called me for no fucking reason. You just should have just said, I was just calling to say hello. Then I say hello. Be like, what's going on in your life? You understand? But you just called like you're picking with no end game. Just pick. And you're like, well, what the fuck? They just like, they got the conversation and they just gnawing at you for details from anywhere. That's a motherfucking time waster, shit starter. That person gotta go. That person has to go. And that's the person that you just... So in me, when I'm purging relationships, I look around and I be like, yo, there are times when this type of behavior confronts me on the phone or confronts me in life, and I'm just like, wait a second, you're wasting my time. Purge. Another type. Okay. Is that fair that we would want to get the people that waste your time out of your life? Like, hey, Mimi, the days, I got more days behind me than I have ahead of me, right? This was from 2019. I was purging time wasters in 2019. Why would I keep that type of energy around me now in 2025? So nothing's changed. These are the type of people that you need to identify and move on with life. There's so much more things out there that you don't have to be bogged down with the time waster. All right, let's move on to number 6. Type of person. That was number 7. Number 6, excuse makers. They got an excuse for everything and anything. If you tell them something, they'll be the person, they ask you for your honest opinion, and then as you're giving it, they got an answer for everything, but that don't work. But excuse me, they're just the excuse maker. Why'd you ask me in the first place if I'm gonna tell you something and you got an answer for everything? You just wanted to hear me say the same shit? That means that you already know. They have an excuse for everything. I tend to get rid of that person. You know why? Because they're really not listening to me. They're not listening to me. And most of the time, whatever they're talking about that I done gave them some advice on, I needed to get rid of them anyway, because the shit they was talking about probably ain't make no sense. Anywho. But they make an excuse for everything. It's not even worth even telling them your opinion. You then become to a point where you just become phony and you ain't got nothing to say because you can't really speak honestly. And you know, if I can't speak honestly, I don't need to be in that conversation because I'm not adding value to your life. I'm not helping you multiply in what you're doing. At that point, I'm just taking away from me. And I ain't got no time to be just taken away from me. Ooh, Mo said she ain't got no time to be dealing with that excuse maker. The person that really, they ask you a question, but they really don't want to hear your answer unless it is going to be equivalent to what they're thinking. That's a mini me. I don't need to be a mini you. I need to be a mini me. Um, yeah, yeah. That's that excuse maker. You know they be faking it. Let's see what number 5 is. Number 5 is I think I made number 5 is in my life before I came to the YouTube, right? But many people that have been now in the social space or been in this digital environment, um, or this hypothetical reality with folks that you don't know, you know, when you get up to a point that you can give somebody about $1,200 and you got to reflect on how you out of $1,200 and only known a person for about 3 years, those little donations surely add up. Money grabbers. Now this one is kind of funky. I think it goes in stages. It goes in funky. It goes in stages. This is what I thought about it in 2019. Imagine how we've seen it grow in the last 6 years. Professional stages, as you become more wealthy or you have more, you will see that some people gravitate to you because they want your money. These are the people that when you go out to dinner or you go out to drinks, first of all, they tend to invite you to shit, but then they don't got no money for shit. Those are people, those people I call the money grabbers. That's the one that wants to go for drinks. Like I have friends, and I told you this one before. I have a friend, and I know that if I'm going out with her, I am the person paying. So I get to the point, like I'm at the point now that when she offers, she's like, "Oh, Monica, we haven't had a girls' night out," and I said, "Yeah, because this girl ain't got no money." Just straight up, like this girl ain't got no money, so we can't have a girls' night out. Let's just make. They're the money grabbers. They like to spend your money. I got another set of friends around me. This is why I kind of purge it and come back into it. I purge these relationships because they will be like, oh, I really like this kind of friend. That's why I can't really get rid of them. It's the one that spends your money. But let Mo from 2019 tell you about her. Helping me spend my money. So, for instance, I like to shop. We all know that. Stop, Monica. I will be somewhere and I'll call up somebody and I'll be like, yo, I'm inside, blah, 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 blah. Right? As I'm walking around, talking, like, oh, this is so beautiful. I got a friend that be like, send me a picture of that. Then I sent her a picture. You know, oh, you gotta get that. Bitch, I ain't got no money. Why are you helping me spend what I ain't got? I just told you I ain't got it. Point in case, Nugget has this sofa. he has his own sofa bed thing, right? It's not a sofa bed. It's a sofa little couch. It looks like the miniature one of my couch. So I'm inside the store and I'm like, oh my God, look, they got this thing. I call her up on the phone. She's like, send me a picture. I send her a picture. She said, oh, Nugget, gotta have that. I'm in the store. I'm like, oh, but it's like $70, $80. She said, it's okay. Nugget gotta have that though. You can't leave that in the store. Help me spend my money. The money grabbers. But you just got to purge them when they are grabbing your money, spending your money for you, looking at, like there's a difference between when somebody is looking out for you and saying you need to invest in something. They're looking forward to the future and they're giving you those futuristic conversations. That's not the same kind of money grabber. It's anybody that takes you and you start out here with some money and you end up here with nothing. Those are money grabbers. I normally purge those relationships. It takes a little bit of time because I just classify those as conversation moments. So when I'm driving somewhere, I really do. I'll be like, hey, guess what? I'm going about. Well, did you hear what I said? That them people become conversation moments. That means I'm stuck on the highway in traffic and I got nothing else to do. I might call the money grabber. And I got girlfriends. I might just, call them on the phone to talk to the money grabber, because it makes for good conversations at that moment. Too. And that's all we talk about. And they'll be like, oh, I went to such and such. I got this friend now, she's Neiman Marcus. I was like, why are you even talking to me? I am still freaking, I said, I'm still freaking Walmart. You're talking about Neiman Marcus. I'm at FEMA getting shit. Notice, I'm at FEMA getting stuff. If you've been here since 2018, you will know that we went through this whole phase when Walmart was considered FEMA because that's where the FEMA camps was supposed to be at. That's where my mindset was during this period of time. So I was at FEMA purchasing stuff, aka Walmart, and they was at Neiman Marcus. For the record, I still got the Neiman Marcus friend. I know exactly who I was talking about at this time. And that's it. Now we get into more deep ones. Number 4 on my list is the oversensitive friend. See, I'm gonna need to pause right there. The oversensitive friend. This is definitely somebody you gotta purge because you know what's gonna happen. But let's see what Mo said in 2019 about the oversensitive friend. The relationship that is just bringing you their emotional baggage, just holding you down with their shit. Very picky people. Very, nothing works for them. You'll be like, what? Always cryy. And the moment they pick up the phone, it's the end of the world, right? The person's never on a happy moment. It's always just like, this is so happy. Or you're having a one-on-one conversation with them and you say something, they immediately be like, oh, that hurt my feelings. You're like, what the fuck? Get some harder feelings, girl. Like, girl, do something with them feelings. If that's all it took to make you upset, then bye. Man, oh man. Can you just imagine? Folks have seen me express this for years and they be acting like they heard something new in 2025. But with the oversensitive, some people need to get to know you because oversensitive folks tend to stay with stronger people because they need that influence. So hear me out. They look for you because they need your strength. They grow from your strength. But you just got to know when the oversensitive person is too overbearing. You'll be surprised how they'll change if you stay consistent. But if you pacify and go in, then that's a relationship that you have to purge because it's not going to benefit you. Oversensitive. So you have to really watch those relationships, and you don't help somebody if you enable their oversensitivity. You're not helping the person, you're actually hindering them. So you have to be very careful. But if you find yourself that you can't speak honestly and that you are masking what you want to say to that person, then you're only doing yourself damage by keeping that by keeping that person along. That's the relationship you need to purge. Let the choir say amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. If you got that oversensitive person hanging on to you and you are being consistent with the way you conduct yourself, get rid of them. Get rid of them. Exit over there. Exit over there, because it's never going to work out. And eventually you're going to compromise who you are and your existence for their existence. And let's face it, they're weak. And you just don't need to inherit the weak. I'm sorry. Or consider purges. It's one of those on my list. Number 3. Now these next three still now in 2025, they remain in an order that can be scrambled. So just remember that. They don't really stay in this particular order. These are the top 3. They interchangeable. Any day they could be the top 1, the number 3, or the number 2. But it's critical that you understand who these people are, because they need to be purged immediately. Immediately. Because at the end of the day, they cause you more damage than they do add value to your existence. Remember, these people that you need to get rid of, you are the person that's adding value to them. They are depreciating your worth. They're taking from you. They're not adding anything to you other than their presence. But everything else is a negative, and they deserve to be purged. They can go either way. They can be my 3, 2, or 1 at any given moment, because either one of these can jump to number 1 instantaneously, and I get rid of them. The miseducated. This is a person that has the wrong ideas of what it takes. Now, I believe, because I can't see the chat from this day, but I believe there was somebody in my chat on that day saying, I think you're talking about me. It ain't changed in this day and age. They that same type of person. I'm so glad I didn't mention their name when I was doing this, because you know what would have happened today? They would have heard their name and they would have been upset, because I would have been able to point out that since 2019 to now in 2025, they haven't changed not one bit. Let's see who this miseducated person is and what it means to be miseducated by Mo's definition, not their definition. To be successful, they know everything. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. I say this all the time. They are frenemies. This is the miseducated, because they challenge you at every step of the way, but not in a positive way. They're challenging you to break you down. it's a real it's a real it's a real gray area with them, because you can feel the challenge, you can feel the condescending conversation as soon as it begins. You be like, oh, this motherfucker, this is what you want to do today, this is what you want to do today. You just be thinking in your head, I can't deal with you, miseducated. See, I say it's miseducated, miseducated, but I say miseducated because you just normally, it's the women, they just want to tell you some stuff. Can y'all be nice to my friends? But I know what y'all saying. Frenemies. And on top of it, they're so educated at some point that they think that they're the master of all information, and they really are not. And there's a saying that goes with this person. I always get it wrong. All right. I want y'all to pay very close attention to this saying because I always get it wrong. But it's kind of important to hear how it sounds, and we'll talk about it on the back end. Sometimes you have acquaintances that are allies, and then you have some allies that should be acquaintances. That is what the miseducation. You have acquaintances that are allies, and then you have some allies that should just be acquaintances. Think about that. You've misappropriated relationships around you. You don't know why you've done it, but you've got people in the wrong position. Sometimes you have to change their position. Educated person is. No, it has nothing to do. I don't know why you're saying that's me. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with somebody's education level. It has to do with how the person confronts you in the conversation. And when you're having the conversation, they're challenging you. It is always confrontational because they are being condescending to you and being superior kind of conversation with you. Like, well, you know you're wrong because blah, 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 blah. Well, if you would have done it this way, because blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. You understand? That's that person that you have a conversation that the minute they open their mouth, this is your face. There go this bitch again. There goes that shit again. You understand? You just know you're going to get it. And you're sitting there the whole time having the conversation with the person. This is what your face looks like. Because you can figure out what it is they're gonna say because they done said it over and over again, but it's not anything that benefits you. It's just garbage. It's they're miseducated. It's just that they're so wisdom. That's how I feel when someone tells me that I'm using ESQ and they go into the FBI. Like that's just miseducated. That's how I feel when somebody's telling me that I'm playing with tarot cards and I'm being a witch and all this other stuff, but then want to say I wasn't really talking about you. I'm talking about me too, and all this other stuff, right? I just feel like if you had something to say, then you should have been a straight shooter with it. But that's that miseducated person. They just think they can insult you and you're supposed to sit around here and take it. That's why they get purged. And their wisdom is so profound. So, but you a shit, basically, when you're having a conversation. That's a relationship I would purge because it's not adding value to me. It's making me feel less than a person. Anytime you're speaking to somebody and they make you feel less than them, I really need to get out of that conversation. Now, if it's a topic that they reign supreme on, and every time you have that topic, like every time I talk to John and he talks about politics, know that is going to be a fucked up conversation with John from the start because he's going to rock blah, 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 blah. No relations to any Johns we know here on the platform. I was just using like John Doe. And I'm just like, you dread having a conversation with the person. You know that's one of those relationships you need to purge. Number two, the haters. Hi, haters. Hi, haters. You know you need to get rid of haters. Haters, you know you got to get rid of them. I don't understand how to even stay around for so long. This is the person that devalues you. This is the person that is always talking about you behind your back. And you're always hearing that they said something about you. And you're like, what the fuck is they still talking? Why do they keep my name in their mouth? So it becomes like, why am I not purging this relationship? It is not adding value. Whenever you're looking at these relationships, if they're not adding value to you, if you feel devalued or less than after the conversation, you know that this is one that has to go. And the haters are the first ones in the thing. Now, sometimes I do say the hate will make you great if you're able to take the hate and make it into positive. So I honestly, until I can't take it no more, I honestly try to take the hate kind of conversations and turn them into critiques. And I say to myself, is there some probative value here to that? Are they really telling me something that if I change that, it might make a difference? So you have to really weigh the hate and see where it comes from. True friends will give you some hater juice because their objective is to make you great. Their objective is to be supportive. And sometimes, most of the time, support comes in two fashions. You don't need ass kisses. People that just kiss up to you all the time and, oh, you're so great, blah, blah, blah. You're doing wonderful things. You need a good balance of friends that will be truthful. See, some people think truthful it doesn't mean saying negative stuff. No, sometimes the truth is negative. You know, there's a saying, the truth hurts. That's why the truth hurts, because it is the truth. And you have to be able to adjust to it. And sometimes we take the truth and say, oh, this is hate speech. No, bitch, it's the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, then you know what you need to do. It could be toxic and it could be vetted. But you have to be able to discern. This is where discern come in. If it's adding value to you. See, I don't want friends that can't be honest. So those haters, you need to balance it out. Sometimes it can work in your benefit. But if you're overwhelmed with a bunch of hate coming in from all directions and you feel like it's closed in on you and everybody, so you have to also watch this, because normally there's a thing called intervention. And some people will misconstrue intervention. That's when a group of friends get together and they've seen some negative thing about you and they want to help you get out of that. They might come and form an intervention. And when they do that, some people really reject it because they consider it hate and jealousy. This is why you got to know the person that's bringing you the conversation and see how you value it. But at the end of the day, it depends on who's in that person's ear. Because I do believe that some people can't handle the truth. And when you come in to hand out that intervention, that tough love, they really can't take it. And there's always going to be somebody else sitting on the sidelines waiting to take your place. See, good friends are hard to replace, but they're fat. They're easy to get rid of when you don't want to hear the truth. You rather stay with the folks that are, giving you sweet nothings in your ears. Like that spider to the fly when you hear them sweet nothings. Let's go. Hate is something that it can be toxic, it can kill you, it can destroy you if you don't have thick skin, and if you haven't conditioned yourself to treat to treat the negative as a positive. If there's nothing that you can take out of the negative, if there's nothing you can use from the negativity, then you have to purge it. It's a relationship that needs to be purged, because at the end of the day, it's only going to destroy you. Because hate is intended to destroy. And you can try to love somebody that hates you. This is why you see a lot of women in relationship and the man is just talking down to them, or their partner, because nowadays, the relationships are different. So whoever your partner is not speaking good words into your ears. And this is where that hate can be really hard to break, because that is the relationship you're in, that is the marriage you're in, that is your significant other. But if a person's not building you up with their words, their actions, it is time to go. It is time to purge that relationship. It's no salvaging any relationship that has you in the inside tore up from the floor up. If you're waking up and you don't even want to wake up, that's a relationship you need to get out of. Sometimes you can do bad all by yourself. And people, however, if you are in this hypothetical reality and you've let it overtake your actual reality, your day to day, your present, seek therapy, because you need some. You have to be knowledgeable of that. And last but not least, oh, the gossiper. Need I say more on that gossiper person? See, anybody that can come to you and tell you some stuff about somebody that done said something about you, more than likely they were hosting that conversation because they were contributor. Nowadays that we older, people say quickly, well, what did you say about that? How did you handle that conversation? I personally don't give a damn. When I hear it, I just be like, this person gets on suspect list number 1. I already put you on the. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just gonna tell you like this. This be my face. So you was talking to the person? Really? Listen, they're not having a conversation in absentia of you, and that's about it. It's absolutely bizarre. But the only thing you can do for these type of people is really trumpet with love. Whatever you're doing that's making people talk about you, you must be doing something right, because they are choosing to talk about you outside of you. If you was doing something wrong, they would have been brought that shit to your attention. I am sorry. I listen and I'd be like, why they wouldn't take the chance to tell you, Monica, you're messed up. You like, every time I hear the gossip conversations, I never hear where it was like, it's just be crap. And permission to speak honestly, the gossip stuff that happens here on the YouTube is more intrusive. In your real life, when people gossip, I didn't know back then in 2019, I didn't know about doxing, but I did know about something that I considered to be intrusive. Boy, have I grown up. About you. They're gossiping about things that you do. because they see it, and they get to critique the things that you're doing because they either agree with what you're doing or they disagree with what you're doing. When you're in the YouTube space and in the social media space, the gossip is about what you've told people about yourself. And they having the conversations because they think that they're the one that knows more than the next person. So the gossip is more about talking about your business and how they see your business. So a good example would be when people gossip about other people, they try to talk about what their house look like, who their husband is, what their kids, what's really going on. Like if you're having a conversation behind the scenes with them and they hear you shout at your child, the next person that they gossip with is they're talking about your parenting, but haven't seen you at all because there's no contact here. But you've left the world up and you become a storybook to be told. Because at the end of the day, the gossiper needs to have a story to tell, and you just become the subject of the story. So it doesn't matter what the story actually is. They just get to tell it. They have a character. You are their character that they are talking about. Just think of it like this. If they was watching, especially if you're a content producer, if they was watching the Real Housewives of Atlanta, they would be talking to their friends about what they saw on the show that night. Instead, they're talking about you because you sit in front of them on you come to them in a medium that's equal to television to most. Notice that you come to them, hey Bonnie, hey Brilliance. Um, you come to them on a medium that is an equivalent to a reality show, and they treat you as such. You become the highlight of their conversation, something that they can go back and speak to others about. Think about how many times any one of us who has had a platform has come up here and shared something about yourself. And when you've heard it remixed, you have said, OMG, how is that even me? It's easily done, but it is done for gossip purposes. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us on here. But at the end of the day, the people that spread the gossip, they are the people that you need to get out of your garden. Period. It's never going to get any better. They were not doing it for your benefit. And believe it or not, their remix of whatever the situation was that you brought out here is what most people are going to carry the water with. That is what they're going to sprinkle in other people's gardens about you. And it's just unfortunate. And you will spend the rest of your time either doing one of two things: hiding, being embarrassed by the narrative that they've painted about yourself, or you'll spend the rest of the time trying to prove people wrong. I could think of a man right now. I'm not even going to go there. But there must have been, I'm just thinking about you know, I go back to the story beaches, right? It must have been cold there in my shadow. There are some people that are on this free app in this environment with us. still in 2025, who had the roughest, most out of place, deprived life that you could ever have. They came out here and they did what people in those situations do. They became the bully against other people. I could think of a wall. And then afterwards, they wonder why they are so miserable today when they should be living their best life. And they have to keep coming out here to prove to people that shouldn't matter to them that they're living their best life. The one thing that I know about people that are doing well is they just do it. They don't have to come out here and prove it to anybody because they're just living for themselves. When you find yourself locked in trying to live for somebody else's approval, that's sad. When you find yourself always referring back to what you didn't have as a child and you were in your 40s talking about something you didn't have 30 years ago. When you've had at least 20 years to make something happen for yourself and you haven't, you can't blame the first 18 years of your life on somebody else when you've had 22 plus years to improve, to self improve. People don't like to hear that the buck stops with you, that when you became an adult, the responsibility, the burden to shift those disadvantages began at that moment. I keep, and it's hard for me to understand this because I know people have had a lot of bad things happen to them. You know, I grew up in a home where my mother was a foster parent, and we had many children come through our doors. Some were older than me, many were younger than me, who had entered this life in bad situations. I pray that as they are older now, that they are living their best life, that tomorrow became a better day for them. But if I was to run into them, any one of them, now, right? I'm in my 50s, which means that some of them is going to be older than me and some of them are going to be slightly younger than me. They're going to be in their 40s at best. And they start telling me that life ain't improved for them and all this other stuff. I'm going to be looking side-eyeing folks. Because when do you take self accountability? You know, I recently, just on as a side note, I had an encounter. Somebody broke into my vehicle, just so y'all know. But you know, when you leave stuff on the street, that's what happened. And um I was able to capture who it was on a video and know who it was, right? And they was considering themselves having a manic attack, right? Under the influence, didn't know what they was doing, etc., etc. And I'm saying to myself, so self, we're supposed to feel sorry at this moment for homegirl because she ain't got her shit together? No, I don't feel that compassion at this in this stage of the game. And the reason why I don't feel the compassion is because when do you take accountability for yourself? I work hard just like everybody else, or at least the people I know. Folks tend to find excuses to get out of the poor decision making that they've done throughout their life. You cannot look at another person and say you deserve what they have. You've got what you've got, and you've got to work on, if you need more, then you've got to work on getting that more for yourself. But you can't be envious or angry with somebody else because they made different decisions or they ran into different opportunities that you did not get. You have to ask yourself, did I put myself in the right position for that? Did I make that path for me? Problem around here is that folks keep wanting, and I see this more in this social space, they keep wanting what somebody else has. When I hear adversity, first thing I hear people saying, "Oh, you don't got them views. Look at this. Look how many views a person got on their channel. Oh, I actually heard people using the language of they've been here for so many years, but they don't even have videos that have 1,000 views on it. Where them 1,000 people at? See, in a small knit community, you need that small knit community to be consistent. I'd rather have 9 consistent viewers that are here every time I go live to take me through the 60 minutes. That's more consistent than having some fictitious number that is here for 2 or 3 minutes because they checked in and they checked out. You know what that leads to? That leads to misunderstandings, misinformation, and miscommunication. But the people that's been there, those 9 people, they can actually answer everything and be able to explain with accuracy what your intents were. At the end of the day, life is what you make of it and who you plant and sow a seed with. If you go and you sow a seed with the wrong individuals, your garden will always look shabby. You'll have patches, you'll have seasons of good along with seasons of bad. You'll never find an even path. There'll be a lot of rocks in the way, puddles, mud, unnecessary burdens. I was speaking to someone today. I was speaking to a young man today that lived in the neighborhood. And he um reached out to me and I hadn't spoken to him maybe since about 2019 or 2020 before COVID. I haven't spoken to the person since COVID. And I remember He introduced me to a book, and I always talk about it, The Four Agreements. Introduced me to that book. And today we was talking, and the first thing in the conversation, we went back to that book. And he was like, I still live by those principles. What about you? And then we explored the fifth principle. And we started to talk about discernment. And he's on a good path right now. And he was just explaining to me all of the good things that has happened in his life since I last encountered him, engaged with him. And in that moment, I was like very happy, whatever, whatever. And he said to me, "But why you sound so down?" And I was like, I had somebody break into my car, this and that. In a second of a flash, homie was like, "What? Oh, Mama Guns, I was like, wait a minute, slow down, calm down. You just told me about all these good things that are going on in your life. It's a thing on the street." And I was like, so you can still be just set off by something else. And he was like, yo, it be love. I be like, love don't like I know what I said, but I basically was just saying, like, you can love people, but we've got to find another way to deal with adversity. Everything don't go with you got to put your hands on somebody. Um, Maybe some of y'all know, don't know, but on these YouTube streets, there was a homicide that took place a couple of weeks ago, based on channel disputes between two channel holders here on the internet. In another sector, the Vegas sector, if it if it even exists, because I'm starting to think that these hypothetical communities do not exist. But I think I'm done with the gossiper. I think I'm done with this video. Y'all good with it, right? I'm just gonna go back. So a couple of weeks ago, there was this homicide that happened on the internet. Um, and it came out of the fact that there was a conflict um that brewed between two content creators, and it turned deadly. And now there's a possibility that the man who executed um his anger on the middle of the Vegas Strip could be facing the death penalty. Because it's a death penalty state. And at the end of the day, um, I'll tell you about those death penalties in a minute. Remind me to come back to death penalties. But at the end of the day, it's a death penalty state. He executed a man and his wife, and they have to set an example that that's not acceptable. But the reason why they give out the death penalty, um the highest restriction, is so in hopes that the person will take a plea and settle for either a life sentence or a double life sentence for the activity and not take it to trial. This person will probably take it to trial. It'll work in his benefit if he takes it to trial, and I'll tell you why. Because death penalty cases, even though they may prevail in this death penalty case, automatically goes on appeal. So he'll buy time. Maybe there'll be some things down the road that'll be looked at differently. But nevertheless, there's benefits to him if he takes it to trial as a death penalty case. But for us on the internet, it definitely takes the arguments, all these homicidal threats that people want to make, like pull up, I'm going to do this to you and I'm going to do that to you. It takes all of the levity out of it because, ain't nobody been as gangster as Manny was from Sin City on here yet. He takes the cake. He's about to show us that there's a consequence for all of this stuff that people want to pretend in this hypothetical reality that they're going to do. Those people took the hypothetical reality and turned it into his current situation. Turned it into his current situation. Um, my thoughts on the Manny situation is if that state has depraved indifference, he definitely went there. He went there because the way in which the platform is structured allowed for somebody to take food out of his mouth. And then he responded in a self preservation way. But you would need to have an attorney who's going to understand how this took you over the edge. You're going to need to have a therapist to explain that. And last but not least, you're going to need to be able to show how the internet, how these internet relationships, right, can become so toxic that it makes you lose your mind. See, when you're able to make money, and let's face it, I don't believe it was YouTube dollars. Okay. I believe that it wasn't the money coming in from the YouTube channel in and of itself that was making him the money. It was the day to day panhandling on the internet, the cash apps, not the super chats, because those are gonna go to the YouTube payment. But it's the cash apps, it's the PayPals, it's the instant gratification that became their lifestyle that he was willing to protect. And in that construct, you had um, the other YouTubers who were trying to stop him from being able to make the money. They were cock blocking his payout. Not to justify anything that he did, but just to understand that drove a man over the top. The way the platform is structured, how the subscriber or the viewer runs the show to some degree and can stop a person from their livelihood. So let me see what you said. Even with explaining his state of depravity and the rivalry between the two channels, I think his attorney will have to also demonstrate that there was possible a threat made to Manny's livelihood. Um, I still believe he has a good defense. He has an affirmative defense of self defense based on what I saw. But I'm always a person that stands on innocent until proven guilty. I don't know because there are so many things with that. There's so many things with what happened in those moments of the streaming. Um, he may definitely people will be outraged if they find out that he's able to prove self defense the um in the homicide of the woman because he didn't know what was in her hand, opposed to self defense in the homicide of the gentleman. So I think that I don't think it's an open and shut case for the prosecution because I think there is room um for him to believe or there to be belief that she might have had a weapon um based on his advantage point of what he saw. I don't think he's going to be able to pull a self-defense of the gentleman. um I definitely think this will be an interesting case. It will be an interesting case for those who like to be up here threatening folks on the internet. This is definitely going to be what they call this is going to set precedents on the internet. Oh, yep, you said the same thing. It will set precedents for um hold up. I'm trying to get this back up. It will definitely um, set precedents for cease to come from YouTube and other social media platforms. Um, what it will set precedents for is that there needs to be some oversight on cyber crimes or social media crimes that derive from the social platforms. There definitely needs to be a separate set of um, there needs to be specific law written for that. I meant cases. Okay. Um, for cases to come from the YouTube and other social media. I honestly believe that that will happen. I really, I think this is the case that puts it on the table. This is the case that puts it on the table. Um, the ability, if you think about some of these other cases, let's talk about some of these rappers who recently found themselves on life sentences or facing life sentences or being convicted of their executions or whatever. The ability to make money and self produce yourself, being able to be um, owning your own masters these days and going straight to the platform, writing yourself a track and going straight to the platform and putting it out here and it being offensive to someone else and causing people to react in a way that causes you serious bodily harm. Um when it's a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of cases right now that have that the social media platforms have been the cause of some stuff that could have been avoided. We need attorneys and laws specific to social media. Absolutely do. I don't know if we need the attorneys because these are still criminal acts. So you do have criminal attorneys. Um, these these actions that happen on the internet, they're considered aggravated harassment until it causes serious bodily harm. The aggravated harassment part is is something they prosecute every day, right? But it's a misdemeanor. I believe that aggravated harassment on social platforms that cross state lines should automatically be federal federal charges that can be prosecuted in any state, and that can be prosecuted in the state of the complainer, the person lodging the complaint. What is happening is that because the complainant and the person, the perpetrator, the subject, live in different states, the the state of the complainant doesn't have the jurisdiction over the person, the subject of the complaint. So we've got to first get over the jurisdiction issues in order to deal with uh, that's the first level that you have to deal with, right? One is the venue, so we need to move it from being a state crime to being a federal crime. Number two, you need to move it from being it needs to be a criminal crime and not a civil crime, meaning that you get to file criminal charges against the person, opposed to it being something of monetary. So you say that a person can sue a person um, in the criminal court, in the civil court, opposed to having prosecutors get involved in prosecuting it. And last but not least, you have to make laws that are specific to the issues that are happening in the cyberspace. Um, you need to have it needs the mere fact that you are engaging in that type of harassment, aggravated harassment towards another person needs to be on a level where it's a felony. You need to make it a felony. And it needs to have not a 1 to 3 years. It needs to start out with a 3 to 5 or something like that to be a deterrent. Just the harassment itself needs to result in at least 3 years in jail, incarcerated somewhere in a federal jail to be a deterrent. Not 1 year and a day, but 3 years. Because by the time you actually prosecute the type of behavior, it's about 3 years in. It's about 3 years of stress. If you just think about the situations that we are aware of in the past 8 years, this Manny situation was about a year in the making. I think they said it started from October. It wasn't even a year then. It sounds like it started from October 2024, but it might have been 2023. For somebody to be executed on the streets in June, crazy. Simply crazy. Simply crazy. Um, and that's it. I'm dealing with something as vast as World Wide Web. And dealing with something, I agree that jurisdiction should be looked at. When the crimes were committed, the crimes reached across states and need to be handled the same. Yeah. In when you file a complaint, there's a few things that you must put inside the complaint. And this is a criminal complaint as well as a civil complaint. You have to have you have to show where the court has where the venue whichever court you're choosing to file in has jurisdiction over the part over whomever's on the complaint. That's why the jurisdiction is going to be an outliner in the most, because imagine like if a person's in the same state as you are and they engage in this type of behavior, you have a method to prosecute them without going without worrying about jurisdiction, because one of those, based on your domicile, right, the domicile of each participant in the complaint, right, if you got domicile in the same state, then that gives you jurisdiction over the matter. When you don't, but being that cyber crimes or cyber situations can or may exceed the state that the person originates in, it should be a federal crime from the onset. With states trickling in. But somebody has to sit down and really write what that looks like. I know I feel like I could go to Congress and sit before them and explain to them why that crime that Manny participated in, why we haven't seen more of that. But we probably have seen it, but just didn't know what it, you know, we didn't know what the root cause of it was. Because I'm sure there's more of that going on than people care to admit. But one of these days, um, it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. Um, if this case doesn't open, if this case doesn't open those floodgates, what could happen eventually is the platforms themselves are going to find it's going to be the subject of a major a major event. I just don't know if it would be a class action, because they've kind of, the platform has kind of insulated itself because it's not regulated by FCC. That's why they just released now you can cuss till you fuss. In the first 7 seconds, the first whatever, um, that now all of a sudden it is ad friendly. Well, what kind of ads are these? I want to know what it is. That's affiliated with it. That's why I'm not like I'm not even thinking about pushing ads anymore for the 1 cent, 2 cent, because I understand what that I to be honest, that's another conversation for another day, because something's got to change around here. Um, and part and parcel is really severing some of the relationships. And that's why I was talking about the toxic individuals in your life today. And that's why I was reflecting on what I'm seeing from, and I'm putting name to it because I'm tired of sugarcoating stuff for folks around here, and then they feel like they're isolated from being the subject. Like seeing what Eric Brown did the other day and knowing that he's gonna cry. Oh, I'm not mean like the other people that put up your family and all these other things. No, but we're watching you fall apart at the seams because somebody told you they don't want to talk to you. I'm not going to chase you down or anything. Okay, I appreciate that. But then your actions say otherwise. You do other things. You're bigger than that. This is this is the craziest stuff. This is the craziest stuff to me. And then when you really look at it, and hear me out, look at it from the perspective of I just watched a video one day and he was talking about like people doing the tarot cards, people with horoscopes and this and that. And I didn't really, I knew that I had pulled my cards out because I said I know how to get rid of people. I went back and told y'all about my Brittany Chanel moment when she got rid of the whole Kanika community in one swoop. She pulled out a book and started reading. They started dissipating, getting out of there, getting out of Dodge, right? I was like, I knew you were talking about me. Then it was like, I didn't say she was the ventriloquist. I wasn't talking about Monica for that. And I was like, all right, cool. But it wasn't until the Esquire thing that I really realized that since I said there can be no further communication for your own safety, you have taken direct hits at me, one after the other. And it's me, it's nobody else. I was thinking, I had other channels in mind that I was thinking that they could have been talking to, but honestly, it was talking to me. And it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. If you're that if you're that upset about who is around me, then you should have been that upset all along about the people you're around who were around me. They pose the same danger that you want me to believe that the other people pose. It's crazy. It's crazy. Some relationships need to come to an end. And I'm going to tell you, after seeing this play itself out, I'm uncomfortable as fuck. I'm not even going to hold you. I'm just saying to myself, this is way too much. This is unacceptable behavior, period. And it's not just because, oh, it's easy. It's easy because you know I'm not going to curse you out or anything else. No, you may not be the person to curse people out, but you are the type of person that won't stop. You're relentless in your pursuit. Because of what reason? Does this really matter that much? What is it? You had to let the whole world know that your number was blocked, which was an oversight. But at the end of the day, you had to let the whole world know that. What does that mean? I don't dislike you. I just felt that at that time, that place, it would not be in your benefit to be co-mingling with me. And I'm not going to ask you to change not one of your friends, not one of your relationships in favor of mine. I'm just gonna move away. Because at the end of the day, I can't. This is just me. I cannot continue to fuck with individuals that will fuck over me. I don't even believe at this point in time that it's intentional. I just think that some people are afraid to just be honest with other people up front. People want to be in the in crowd. I don't care about none of those crowds. Because at the end of the day, you, like me, are not codependent on the platform to live. So, with that being said, I'm just like, if you find that today's um content points out a type of friendship that you've engaged with, YouTube ship that you've engaged with me, um and you feel like it applies to you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, then that is true. Because I'm probably thinking the same thing about you. I don't want interpersonal relationships. I want to be able to come on this platform, say what I have to say, engage with like minded individuals or people that are willing to engage in honest debates without it getting personal. That's all I want to do. Hey Coleman, I don't want nothing more but everything less. I want to have meaningful conversations that hopefully can bring us to some resolution or give you a better insight on a topic that I am not familiar with or a topic that I'm familiar with that I can introduce to you and give you a different perspective on it. And you come back and we revisit a topic, a discussion, but I don't want to engage in suicide, homicidal, or any of the kind of conversations that would lead to the elimination of a person in a fictitious place on the internet. You know you struggling when you gotta cook what you got. And it one day is it's a banana pudding with no bananas. Like it's real at that moment. Everything's real for somebody. Yes, ma'am. Everything is real for somebody until somebody gets up here and tell you I ain't going. It becomes real for somebody. I'm not stupid. I'm very much in tune to when a person makes me feel uncomfortable. And I'm uncomfortable with the things I've been seeing. And they're leading up. It's stacking up. It's one on top of the other. And it's directed at me. All because I said, you live in Memphis with somebody else that lives in Memphis. And I don't want you to become a target because you still hanging around me. See ya. That's all I said. I don't even want to go back to the text messages because I said it in the most polite way and you understood it. We talked about Jesus being love. And you said, you mean you're trying to walk away from me? Yes, I am. Because I think it's in your best interest. And now you start making videos, giving subliminals about witchcraft and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, all right, that could be anybody. Until yesterday, when you posted about the ESQ, that's not about anybody, that's about me. And because that's about me, it makes me now reflect on the past transgressions. And I'm saying, enough is enough. Eric, please stop. That's it. Just please stop. Please. That's all I'm asking you. I'm asking you out of all of the years that I've known you and out of an abundance of respect for you, I'm asking you to stop. I wasn't ESQ over here at Monica Mo Justice. I was somewhere else speaking on a platform with other people. I didn't see you in the chat, sir. Were you stalking me? Please stop. This is so unnecessary. I'm asking you to stop. Gather up your dignity while you can. You're not being silent. You're speaking louder than the storm. Stop. You are much better than this. Because otherwise, I would have made a very bad decision on ever, ever communicating with you. You're showing me a dangerous side of somebody that I do not believe that that's what you are capable of. Please stop. Please. This is Mo. I've got to go. Have a good night. I'll check you guys out later on in the week. I will be coming back to talk about my the queso, but he's got a couple more weeks before his sentencing, so I can always come back and speak on that speak on that case. Um because I still got to do some connecting some stuff, but I'm going to tell you that case right there is another reason why you got these gang banging ass dads, right? Who have failed to be fathers, um, but have raised a generation of gangs. They groom these young men to be in gangs. And I'm not really convinced that Queso, I'm not convinced that he was I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I feel like in these type of situations, people throw certain people underneath the bus because they don't believe that they're gonna get hit with they're gonna get hit with all of the um all of the charges. But I hope and pray that when the judge is sentencing the father and the other dude, that she gives them life sentences disregarding whatever agreement that they made with the government. Because, see, people like that don't need to be on the streets. But they can call up that man and see it wasn't that son. Because, I can't stand the people on this internet. Queso wasn't the son that called the father to go help the two other guys, the cousin and the other guy who were in the woman's house. It was the other son who was supposed to be in the other car with the other guy, right? It was Chris Brown and the other guy, the other son that were in the other car that called the father to come and pick up the other two who was stuck inside of the who was in the lady's house, right? And the father came and got them, right? Then the father said that he went and he burnt their clothes. I'm over the father. He don't never need to be on the streets again. But this is the terrible this is the consequences of the police department. Because, see, when those people tried to do the right thing, when their loved one got killed, the Willie dude, when he got killed, and they were waiting for law enforcement to do whatever law enforcement does, and law enforcement didn't, that's how this turned into a bigger brew between the two groups in the first place. The boy that died after doing in the car, the shootout in the car when he came from the club, the son that they was all supposed to be avenging the death, even though it was the day after, the day of, because they try to make it seem like, oh, he got him on the day of. It was exactly a year. No, it was a year and a day later. Let's just get the dates right. When they see these situations go down, this is what they say. They say, "Oh, guess what? They can handle it. We'll just come in and do the cleanup afterwards. We'll just come in and do the cleanup." Um, if they had looked into whoever executed that dude and 5 people, because there was 5 people in the car that got shot, and the same father that was testifying that day, drove with 2 gunshot wounds to the hospital, and then he lost his son, and then he's on the news like, yeah, well, we waiting for justice here, right? That's why he's testifying, saying, yo, from 1990 whatever to 2020, I was good out here in the streets. He was good until you people didn't do your job, and then they took it into their hands. Do you agree with the jury's verdict? um from a legal perspective, I respect the juror's verdict, but it's not the one I would have. When do you have? Since when? Now let's be clear. We done had DNA out here. Dana's been running up and down since the 80s and the early 90s as a way to convict people, right? Um, maybe OJ Simpson was the first one with Dana not convicting somebody, right? In this particular case, you want me to believe that you came up with some technology that takes the image of somebody's body and can put it to the image of a video of somebody's body and tell you that this is the physique of the person, the shooter. I'm over it. And I went back to listen to the police officer's testimony. I was just listening to it this morning, where the police officer is like, the whoever he saw who shot the gun got into the car on the passenger side. We're just taking for granted that the dude that testified, right? Um, little Buck, little, I don't know what. Don't get me getting these people's names, because I wasn't even trying to write it down. But I don't know what the dude's name is, right? But the one that testified that he was the driver, that he was the one who found the dude's address because he went on the public records. This technology sounds like it's the first time it's ever been used. The fact that the defense allowed him to be photographed for it or whatever, they made still shots of him in different movements. It's crazy. Not that I'm aware of, but it's some kind of technology. They explained it, but I just feel like it should have been more. I feel like there was some elements. All right, let's be real. I believe that the defense attorneys for Queso believed he was innocent full heartedly. What they couldn't say is what I'm saying right now is that, and even with the sister's testimony that came up there, that's a gang banging ass family. And I don't know what they was trying to prove to him, but he just got like sucked in forever. Now I'll have to listen to the trial of the other guy that he's accused of, but I just feel like that he was a sacrificial lamb unless they come and give me something more different in the young man that came home from school that was supposed to be Julio Fulio's one of his friends that came home from school and was walking, got off the school bus and then was walking home and was involved in a shootout, and that was supposed to be thing. So I'll wait to see that trial and how that trial materializes. Um, Rap lyrics and the music, that's something totally to be looked into. Um, but this whole technology with the body image, and that's the image, his image matched that image, that was his stock and build and all this other stuff. If that was the case, why would they need the father to definitively say that was my son? Where's the gun since you was up here burning stuff? Why didn't y'all sweep the lake that he was supposed to have thrown the gun in the woods? I mean, let's face it. This is something that took place in 2000. You could have definitely in 5 years had drained the swamp to find the weapon. I mean, I don't know if you can find the technology to match because all of your people said it was a shorty that did this. If you could find this technology and pay tens of thousands of dollars to have that technology, you could have drained the swamp to find the weapon. I know you're not gonna find fingerprints, but at least that would have been more circumstantial than this stilly. That I was just I was I'm just annoyed by that whole technology. That I'm just gonna say that. But and I don't know what the jurors made their decision on. I don't know because I don't live in Florida and I don't live in their communities. And I'm hearing that it was an all white jury. And I know that they went now into a white lady's home and terrorized her um, during that period of time. And folks don't want to hear that. But I'm not even convinced that, well, I am convinced that Homeboy, the cousin, was definitely inside of the lady's house because they found his DNA on her clothes. So that I believe. What you mean by none of his peers then? What are you? I'll take that and then I'm gonna go. But what do you mean by none of his peers? Don't they say a jury of his peers? Yes, but a jury of your peers just means that it's a jury of um your neighborhood, people in your community. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. They committed this crime. I mean, let's be for real, right? If you go in a if you go in a neighborhood that is populated by people other than yourself, and the crime is committed in those people's neighborhood, right? So if you go out of the black community and you go into the white people's community and you commit a crime over in the white people's community, who you expect to be on the jury? Cuz they are going to try the case in the community that you did it in. So they went into a housing complex that didn't appear to be their community. Now he ran, if you listen to the testimony, he ran through some woods or something and got back to Smokyville, right? But at the end of the day, he was in Simi Valley up there, and that's the peers that you get because that crime took place in their jurisdiction, and those people that live there have a right to adjudicate the folks that conduct crime in their neighborhood. So him shouting that they didn't have no black people in on the trial is, where were you at? I mean, but I don't live there, so I don't know the politics of what took place. Now, his daddy is older. His daddy probably know the politics. And you ever know when you telling kids they ain't built like that? That's what that man looked like to me. He looked like somebody that sat down with these youth, directed them, and probably told Shorty, you ain't intended for this. Stick to your day job. But now he don't even have a day job. Um I want to go back to the young man who testified that's looking to get 20 years, and he's 30 years and he's going to be 50 years old by the time he get out and da, 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 da. No, he don't need to hit the streets ever again. Them people are so integrated in crime. They got other cases where they done did. He was considered to be the shooter. I forgot how they referred to him, but the defendant's attorney, the man, he was very he was very annoyed by the process, by how the system was working against his client, and how the system was just going to allow people who have engaged in crime go free while they point the finger at somebody else. Like basically, his argument and his closing argument to the jurors was, "Don't allow this to happen. Like this, don't allow this to happen." This young man had a lot of stuff going for him. But I don't know, like, once the sister got up there and testified, because I just didn't understand why she got up there. Because the moment she said, when she saw the image of the person, she said, hell no. And in my head, if I'm looking at something and I'm looking at it from the perspective of, because this is not when the footage comes out the evening of the incident, right? If you sitting there the evening of the incident and you gonna say, hell no, no one's accused your brother of doing it at that point. It was 9 months later or so that he becomes a suspect. So why were you hell knowing on the first evening when you saw it? Oh hell no. Yeah. That didn't help to me. That didn't help me believe he wasn't there. And I just think when you see all the people who testify against him, I'm just saying he's in the wrong damn family. And you can't pick your DNA. It's super crazy. It's just super crazy. So, we'll see what the sentencing brings, but it sounds like it's just a life sentence. Sometimes in a case like this, I wish he would have gotten the death penalty because at least he would have got an automatic right to appeal. And in Florida, that's important. And that's why they don't really bring death penalty cases against folks because they don't want them to get the right to automatic appeal. They rather just give them life sentences. And let's face it, parole doesn't even exist down there. So you're doing the time for the crime, which is the right way to approach things because Florida is also a retirement state and people don't want to be in their retirement ages worrying about being inside their house and wait, going to the bathroom and coming out the bathroom and finding somebody trying to hide in your closets in one of your bedrooms. That's not what people are anticipating. So there has to be a consequence for that. It has to be a significant consequence. But I don't believe that it warrant the young man, the teenager, to get life for the murder he didn't commit because he was in the lady's house. But his attorney, the woman, she was a piece of work. She asked that police officer, yo, folk know how to upset people. She said, so you was out getting lunch. Can I assume, she said, I guess this is just going to be bad of me. Right? Can I assume that you was at Publix getting a chicken sandwich? She went there. She went there without any hesitation. And that officer, black officer, he was like, I was getting a wrap. She said, oh, okay. Oh, that was trying to get him off his high horse of trying to be an educated officer, being. I was like, this is ruthless. Ooh, hit me with the ugly stick. It's serious over there. Anyway, this is Mo. I've got to go. Oh, this is just too much. Just too much. Have a good night to all.